Hey guys, welcome to the All Sports Pass North. My name is Eli, I'm your host, and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be doing the Week 11 review and the Week 12 and playoff preview. But before we get in this video, you already know we got to start off with the verse of the day. And today's verse comes from Colossians 3:3, and it says, "For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God." And also, guys, I just want to say this. I'm sorry for not getting an upload in. These last few days I've been a bit busy. But here we are. Here's the review. And I may be doing the Vols video tomorrow. It just depends on what all I got going on. If I don't do it tomorrow, it'll probably be before the game on Saturday. So just stay tuned. But before we get into this video, leave a like, subscribe for more high school football content. Without further ado, let's begin. So basically, Week 11 was crazy. Now we had Carter at Seymour, and Seymour needed to beat Carter in order to get into the playoffs, and Carter just was able to remain in control in this game. And we'll talk about Carter a bit later because basically for how playoffs work, like all North teams that made it to the playoffs, like all those teams will be covered on their respective channels. The same goes to the West teams. And speaking of the West, if you all want to go check out that channel, I'll leave that in the description as always. So basically, Carter with this win will be playing Greenville. And we'll talk about that game here in a few minutes. But basically, I did have the playoff possibilities here. Right here. When Carter really, them winning would mean that they would be playing the winner of Greenville and Elizabethton, and since Greenville won, they are playing Greenville at Greenville. So, and we're not at that game yet. But basically, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens for round one, and we're going to talk about round one here once we get into Once I get to that segment. Sorry, I'm just pulling this up real quick. Hold on. And so Austin East defeats Scott 30-7, and with this win, Austin East is the third seed, and they will be playing. And I honestly, and with the Unicoi upset win over Johnson County, Austin East will travel to Johnson County to take on them as the 3 seed, and Johnson County the 2 seed from their region, which I'll pull up right here. So because of that, with the Unicoi County win, and Johnson County and Austin East will be playing, the winner of that game will probably play Alcoa pretty much. And basically I know because this has pretty much been the rotation, I guess you could say, for the last couple years. Basically, it's been Alcoa, Kingston, Austin East. So, yeah. And so pretty much so, yeah. But we're going to talk about Austin East here in a few minutes. So. Then we have Central at Halls, and both these teams did make the playoffs, and this is a big rivalry game. But basically, the winner of this game, now, these two teams would have to travel regardless, but they really wanted to get the 3 seed, And since Halls had the win, they're going to be traveling to Morristown West for the second year in a row. And for Central, they're going to be playing Sevier County, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, as well as this game here. And and West at Powell. And I'm going to be honest, I did not expect West to take down Powell because now West is a good team and all, but I do think that, of course, just seeing some of the results from their games. Well, I expected Powell to win, but hey, West was able to do it. And, West being able to claim this, actually, West will play, hold on, I'm trying to do the math here. Just give me a second. They'll be playing David Crockett. So, yeah. So with this, West is playing David Crockett. So that is going to be, it should be a win for West, but I don't cover West, but we're gonna get to Powell in a minute. And if you're wondering why I didn't choose this game as game of the week, it was because mostly one, because I try to a North and North school, and 2 because I don't cover West, so I don't cover West all that often. So yeah, but yeah, so here we go. And here's the game of the week: Gibbs at Fulton. It was a rivalry Thursday game. Basically, the winner would be hosting a playoff game, which of course Gibbs winning this game. And I actually watched this game on TV, and it was a pretty good game. Now, Fulton, the only time they got into the end zone was actually the first drive of the game, and the Gibbs defense was able to just hold strong the rest of the game, and Gibbs offense went off as well. And I do think that, that this should give momentum for Gibbs when they host Cherokee tomorrow. And, of course, Fulton will have to travel to Elizabethton to play the Cyclones. And fun fact, the loser of this game, because these teams had actually not played Elizabethton before, the loser of this game would actually have to travel to Elizabethton to play Elizabethton for the first time in their school's history, in their football program's history. And these two teams did not want to make history on that. Yeah. But here we go to week 12 in the playoffs. Yeah. So basically, for this right here, Carter at Greenville, and now I do think, of course, that the winner of this game will take on the winner of the Gibbs Cherokee game. But I do think, of course, and more than likely it's going to be Greenville. But however, there can be an upset, and as we've seen, of course, in college football now, of course, it's high school football, but anything can happen really. But I do think, of course, that we've seen so many upsets. Of course, Vanderbilt knocking off number 1 Alabama this year, as an example of a notable one. It shows that no number 1 team is unbeatable. And Carter is 4-6, and they're going to have to travel to Greenville. And Carter on the season, let me take a look here. Leading receiver Gabriel Dennis for receiving yards per game has 78.9 yards per game. And rushing yards per game is actually Carter for Jody Scruggs, which is 49.1 yards per game. And Jody Scruggs has 11 total touchdowns. And Hayden Simmons leads the team on the tackles per game with 11.1. And Jake Coffey, of course, he's good on defense. He's the leading team with sacks with 11.5. He and believe it or not, the second place actually on this team is actually 2.5 in sacks. So that's a huge margin. And I think it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, and Gabriel Dennis also leads them in with 4 interceptions, and yeah, and Brody Sparks also had 22 pass touchdowns. But hey, I think, of course, that these are some impressive numbers. And, seeing some of Carter's performances, they, here, I'm just trying to see their last year. Now, they're on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were on 6-game losing streak before they won against Seymour. But they were able to keep it close for some of these games, of course, with the exception of Halls and AC. Last 3 games, they were able to keep it close. Of course, they lost 31-27 to Northview. And then they lost 42-28 to Gibbs. And then they lost 42-35 to Fulton before winning against Seymour. So basically, Carter could potentially, I think it's going to be interesting to see. But, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, yeah. Now, for Greenville, however, and unfortunately, Greenville does not really keep their stats public. So I won't be able to talk about the stats, but I will say this, that there are a couple names that I really want to mention. There's Zayden Anderson and Carson Quillen. Carson Quillen is their running back, and he is really good. I think Carter's able to figure out Greenville, if they can stop the plays, stop Quillen, there could be a chance that they can win. But I do think, of course, that Carter's going to have to play probably their best game of the season probably right here if they want to get by Greenville. And if they beat Greenville, I'm going to say move over Alabama Vanderbilt. We got probably a big upset, because, but hey, I do think, of course, that, for Greenville, I think that these last couple seasons, they had not been able to get by the third or fourth round of the playoffs. They're looking for their first trip to Chattanooga since 2018. And, man, they can't seem to get by the third or the quarterfinal or the semifinal to get to Chattanooga. Just a little curse on them. But, hey, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, unfortunately, I think it's going to be Greenville. But, hey, say Carter can pull the upset. It will be interesting. But it's going to be a tall test for him. So, yeah. All right, then we have Northview Academy at Anderson County. And Northview, guys, I'm so annoyed because I just closed this on myself. But basically, Anderson County is basically doing really good right now, and unfortunately I don't have their stats on them. But I do think, of course, that Northview Academy, with Northview being 5-5, this is likely a win for Anderson County. And I'm going to see some of Northview stats a little bit. For receiving yards a game, the leader is Calvin Ferguson, who has 49.4 yards a game, and rush yards a game, quarterback Mason Phillips, 92.8 yards a game for rushing yards, and then total touchdowns, Mason Phillips has 11 total on the season. In tackles per game, they have Archer Lane, who has 11.8 tackles a game, and then Archer Lane, of course, leads the team in sacks as well, and 4 interceptions for Marshall Sizemore, pass touchdowns for Mason Phillips. Now, 13. But I will say this, that Northview, just seeing who all they play, they lost to Unicoi County, then lose to Pigeon Forge, barely get by Seymour, barely get by Volunteer. They end up, losing to Cherokee in a close game, which is actually why Gibbs is playing, because basically that game would have decided the third seed pretty much. Now with this game being, held earlier in the season, now they would still need to win out, But, just depending, on the region, at the time, and then, of course, they beat Granger, beat Carter, and then they lose to Elizabethton and Greenville, and they beat Sullivan East. Now, Anderson County is going to be a big test because if anybody here has been to an Anderson County game, that Anderson County, they treat football like it's different up there. Like, they treat it like a religion. Like, they have fireworks, crazy entrance, everything. And they even have a dog going out to go get the kicking tees, and that's crazy. Oh, I just now noticed right here. And I also just noticed this. I forgot to mention the sponsors. So for the Carter segment, we got bigsonly.com, apparel brand. Go to the website to go check out what they got. And then we also have for the Gibbs segment, which I'll just go ahead and do. We have PJ's Barbershop. They're located on 3544 Neal Drive, Suite 101, Knoxville, Tennessee 37918. You can call or text Pam at 865-548-0749. Schedule an appointment. Or you can call Jackie at 865-243-5291 to schedule an appointment. Call or text. Yeah. And we have Sierra Lynn Photography. And if you want to schedule a session, DM Sierra on either of these accounts, Sierra_343 or SierraLynn.photos on Instagram to schedule a session. Thank you all for your continued support of All Sports Pass podcast. And, all right, so basically, for Anderson County, it's going to be Northview, it's going to be a tall test. They want to upset Anderson County. But I do think that it's going to be interesting, but I think it's likely going to be AC winning it because, AC they're tough to beat at home. So, yeah. And, all right, let's go on to Central at Sevier County. And I have to say, Sevier County, this is probably the craziest turnaround I've seen. I'm trying to, hold on, let me pull it up. There we go. In previous seasons, hold on. Sorry, guys, I clicked the wrong year. I clicked the wrong year. Hold on. There we go. They went 5-6 2020. They go up to 7-4 2021. In 2022, they go. Hold on, it's still loading. They go 6-5, and then last year. They go. well, they go 10-2. But this year they go 10-0, and they're a tough team to beat this year. And actually, I can actually see their stats here. Let's take a look. Um, Basically, their top performers. Let me just put up their top performers. Okay, they actually don't have. So the leaders, they have like an average of receiving yards per game. Bryson Hedrick, 63 yards a game, and they have rush yards per game. Tegan Rivera with 102.6 yards per game, and then total touchdowns. Jude Costner, which he has 17, and then of course, on defense for tackles per game, you have Joey Galazin leading it with 11.6, and then Jude Costner with 3.0 sacks. Actually tied. Joey Galazin and Jude Costner have 3.0, 3 sacks, averaging 3 sacks a game. Yeah, and pass touchdowns, Cooper Newman, 33 touchdown passes. That's insane. Yeah. Now, Central, of course, I think it's going to be a tall test, but it's going to be interesting to see what Sevier County can do because they are amazing. And matter of fact, they played, I'm trying to, hold on, let me do the math real quick. Basically, none of these scores are even close here. Now, the least amount of points they scored in a game was 29, which they did twice, of course, against Hardin Valley and then East Hamilton. And this is just crazy. Like, this is a turnaround, in my opinion. Like they go from not really doing too good to having back-to-back, 10-win seasons. But the only difference is this 10-win season happens happens over here in the regular season. So they're pretty much guaranteed, Now, if they don't go all the way, they're pretty much guaranteed a one-loss season. This might be the best Sevier County season on record. And it's gonna be amazing to see a good turnaround here. All right, then we have Austin East at Johnson County, and let me pull up Austin East right quick. Austin East, basically, they're coming into this game 3-7, and hold on, it's loading. We got the little wait music going on. I wish I could put it, or I'd get copyrighted. They're 3-7 for the second year in a row. And now, basically, Austin East is going to be interesting to see what they can do, but I do think that, Johnson County's been doing pretty good. And I do think, of course, that receiving yards per game, you got Dikeas Towns, who I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, 26.1 yards a game. Then Damir Ligon has 68.9 rushing yards per game, which is the leading. I'm just saying the leading stats on here. 68.9 yards a game. Then 8 total touchdowns for Damir Ligon as well. And then tackles per game, Jarvis Henderson with 4.2. And then DeAndre Hundley also has 8 sacks a game. And James Nyankuru has 2 interceptions leading the team. And Nymir Jackson has 6 touchdown passes as well. But for Johnson County, let me pull them up real quick. Not here saying, normally playoffs, in my opinion, here's some advice. If y'all are going to cover high school football, probably be as prepared as you can because you never know really, you never know really what you're going to learn about these teams until you get to the playoffs really. And what I mean by that, I'm trying to be as prepared as possible, but of course, what I mean is the fact that you don't really, some of these teams you never hear of, and that's what that's kind of the case here, So that's really why I really did that, I've heard the name Johnson County, but I didn't really hear the school until really this year when they started doing really good. But anyway, here we go. So basically, they have from what I heard, they have a good running back and rushing yards per game. Juan Mea is averaging 139.8 yards a game. Wow. And total touchdowns, he's actually leading them with 24 touchdowns. And hey, the good news is, it says he's a junior here. Johnson County should be getting him back next year. So, yeah, and man, it's going to be amazing. Now, it's just an amazing season for them. And their 2 losses were to the Holston Cavaliers up in Virginia. They also got upset by Unicoi County. But let me tell you this. I got Johnson County winning. I just think, the Longhorns are doing really good and have done really good this season. And I think that, you know, I just think that it's going to be amazing. I think it's an amazing season regardless, but I think that they're going to win this one and extend their season. And, yeah. And now I have Halls at Morristown West, and for this game, Halls is coming into this game 7-3. Of course, they lost to West, lost to Powell, and they lost to Gibbs. And I do think, of course, that on over here on their stats here, I'm just going to take a look at some of these right here. Brody Rogers leading the team in receiving yards with 83.4. Rushing yards, Marcus Moore, 100.2. Rushing yards per game, if I say receiving. Total touchdowns, Marcus Moore with 11. And Harlan Hundley has 12 tackles per game. I do think, of course, that, and I actually went to the Gibbs Halls game. If you remember, that was actually the game of the week. And the Halls defense was pretty good. It was mostly a hard-fought battle between, the two defenses, and as well as both the offenses. But Gibbs came out on top in the end, and yeah. And now for Morristown West, I'm going to be honest, I don't cover Morristown West. And what I mean is this, I most, the only Morristown, school that I covered was actually Morristown East. And, hold on, guys, sorry, I accidentally closed out of it, and there we go. Sorry. But, I do think, of course, that Morristown West, this is a different Morristown West team from last season. And I do think, of course, that and now they're 4-5. And last season when they were playing Halls, they hold on, guys. Sorry, it's still loading. Last season when they were playing Halls, they and also I just saw this that all their wins came from districts. So yeah. Hold on. Is this a dang? It's not taking me to last season. There we go. All right, so they were 5-5 coming into this game, and they beat Halls. And then after they beat Halls, they traveled to West and they lost, which gave them a 6-6 season. And now this season they're a 4-5 team, and so they did beat. Let me show you. So they beat Tennessee High School. They beat Daniel Boone. They beat David Crockett, and they then beat Cook County. So because of that, they're able to get this seed. And I do think that it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But I'm just going to be honest. I think Halls is actually going to win this one. So I'm going to give this one to Halls here. All right, then we have Powell versus Tennessee High. And for Tennessee High, they're coming in on a 7-3 record. And so basically, from what I'm seeing here, the most points they scored was actually a 55-20 win over David Crockett. And now Powell, I think, they're a powerhouse. And I just think that for Tennessee High, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to figure Powell out. like Powell's just been amazing on offense and defense as well. Of course, Powell also has Connor Wheeler too. So, yeah. Oh wait, Connor Wheeler. Sorry, sorry. I think that's his name. I'm just hey. Sometimes I get the name mixed up. I think that's his name. I'm just saying, hey Connor, I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. I'm just saying because hey, sometimes I mess up. It's okay. I make mistakes too. I'm a human. Yep, Connor Wheeler. There we go. Yeah, but I do think that Powell, I think, is going to advance to the next round, and I just think that's going to happen. So I'm going to give this one to Powell. All right, I have Fulton at Elizabeth, and I have to say, when I talk about cool mascots, we have two of them coming up. And I'm sorry, we have, including this one. Elizabethton's probably got to be one of the best that I've seen. I love the Cyclone, just buffed up with, he just looks like, he's ready to fight. And that's why they're called the Fighting Cyclones. But it's pretty crazy. And I think Elizabethton, they're coming into this game with a 6-3 record. And, of course, I think one of those games got canceled. Yeah, I believe one of those games got canceled. I can't remember which game it was though. So I will admit that because sometimes sometimes these games sometimes like here sometimes some of these games do get canceled, and like whenever they get canceled they usually take them off the schedule, so I will admit that. But I do think that Elizabethton has, of course, they're the probably the top three in my opinion in 4A. They're probably ranked third, but I do think of course, like Elizabethton, they're probably gonna get by Fulton. But I do think that of course Elizabethton playing, I do think that Elizabethton playing, Fulton, this is a win for Elizabethton, and most because, like, of course, you've never played Fulton. Fulton's never played Elizabethton before, so really you kind of just found out who you played, like, the next day after you lost to Gibbs. So, you're kind of really trying to figure out who Elizabethton is and, what can you do to potentially beat them. But I think it's going to be Elizabethton winning this one, so, yeah. And all right, y'all know the drill. Drum roll, please, for the game of the week. I think that might be my best drum roll. Cherokee at Gibbs, and I have to say, I chose this game mostly because Cherokee is actually 7-2, and now I do think, of course, that for Cherokee, I think that now, of course, given now I'm just trying to see all these scores here. Now they win 35-28 over Cobb County. They win 35-21 over David Crockett. They win 28-21 over Northview. They beat Granger 41-0, beat Sullivan East 45-7. They beat Volunteer 42-23, and they beat Union County 38-8. And let's just say this, that I really think that this game could go both ways, but I think it's likely going to be Gibbs winning. And unfortunately, I don't see the stats here, so yeah. Like Gibbs is, I will say this. So for Cherokee, this is really the first time I'm really gonna be seeing them play because I don't really see much footage on them. But I do think that Gibbs' defense is crazy. Like they're able to make plays when they're needed and for everything. And also I forgot to mention when I said the probably one of the most coolest logos, the Cherokee one is probably the probably one of the coolest. Well, I just love that logo. And if you've seen the midfield logo, it's amazing. So, search up Cherokee High School, Rogersville, Tennessee, if you want to take a look at their field because I love the midfield logo. But anyway, for Gibbs, I think that of course, that they are going to be playing their hearts out. Like they want to extend their season. Same with Cherokee. But I do think, of course, that Gibbs. I think that that the defense has been able to make some good stops when they're needed. They're able to make good plays. Offense is able to get downfield. I just think that for Gibbs, they need to continue going downfield. And fun fact, if Gibbs wins this game, this is actually their first 10-win season since 2010, where that team went 11-2. And that season, that team lost to Fulton back when Fulton was basically championship contenders, and then Greenville in the playoffs, as Fulton lost to Greenville in the playoffs. But the reason why I say that is because 2 years later Fulton won. It began in 2012, 2013, 2014. Fulton won 3 straight. So yeah. But hey, it is what it is, and I'm excited for this game. I really am, and I cannot wait to see. I'm expecting big things from this game. I'm expecting to see both teams give it their all and everything. So, yeah. And, alright, that's all I got for y'all tonight. If y'all like this video, get a like, subscribe for more high school football content. And, yeah. And I'm just going to be honest, I'm shocked we made it to the playoffs already. It just feels like yesterday I started making the week 1 video. But, hey, it is what it is. But, hey, we can only look forward. And, and it might feel like an eternity before we get high school football again. But, yeah. And also, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about going live to celebrate the season, like talking about the season for some of these schools. And so I will. So keep an eye out for that. Depending on whenever the season ends, and it just depends on when I want to do it really. So yeah. And with all that being said, peace out. God bless, and good night.